Hey everybody, Ronarray here, and today I want to showcase my endgame version of the Warpath Void Knight build. In general, I've been pretty happy with how it performs in higher corruption, and I think it's pretty strong right now. I did a lot to fix tankiness for the build in general, and right now it can just feel better in almost all aspects. Let's go forward and see how exactly the build works and what you will need to play the similar setup. So the build solely focuses on the damage for the Warpath. Thanks to Knight passive, our Warpath can pretty much eco. It stacks pretty well with Void Knight itself, and we need to stack a lot of eco chance across the whole build. We are taking passives such as Echo Strikes, such as Time Legion or Avatar of Regret. All of them provide a lot of eco chance. That way we can create a few different ecos at the same time. And we can also stack a lot of additional damage for our ecos, both on our items and on our idols. That way our ecos is doing more damage than the character itself, and can pretty much combo to do a huge damage to single target. Since we can create a few different ecos, we can also hit the enemy with our character at the same time, creating huge combo damage and destroying our enemies without a lot of issue. It works pretty well in higher corruption too, because we can also run around and ecos will damage enemies even if we are not too close to them. That will lead to better survivability as well. We are also using another set of abilities just to boost our damage, such as Anomaly and Volatile Reversal. It works both for our main damage for Warpath and for ecos as well. On top of that, we are also utilizing a lot of leech, because we can leech both melee damage and void damage. That way, for our character, leech our health back if you are hitting the enemy is not a big issue, and it helps a lot with mitigating a lot of small strikes while running around. We also boost our movement speed through such items as Dark Stride, because that way we can get movement speed based on added melee void damage, and we can just zoom around with our Warpath through all the ecos. The one recommendation that I want to add on top of that: a lot of people are using the Warpath just standing in one place when they are hitting one target. It's not really how you need to play that. Even if you can stand in one place, it's not really recommended. To provide more ecos and to feel better, you need to run around in line. So when you're running around, it's much easier to get ecos in, and it's much easier to hit one target as well. So don't stand in one place, because it's a common mistake for everybody who's playing the Warpath. So talking about the setup and why it's better than other Void Knight Warpath setups, I generally want to focus on two things. First off, I'm using the block chance for the build. I think it helps a lot in the higher corruption. The build can reach 43% of block chance, which is completely amazing in my opinion. It can also have a pretty high block effectiveness, up to 1000 and maybe a little higher. That way lead to better survivability in higher corruption. It can also help against one-shots as well, because 43% will block pretty often, especially if it's a few heavy hits. I'm also adding more leech by using 2 Siphon of Anguish, because that way we can out-leech the damage much faster. It works really well, especially at 700 and higher corruption, so generally I can recommend that. And on top of that, I think Titan Heart is completely amazing, even if you don't have a proper bonuses. And adding on top of that, heavy focus on the eco damage, which will provide higher burst. I think that setup could be called Ultimate One, because it does higher corruption much easier than a lot of others. So talking about the Warpath skills, the setup is pretty basic. We need 2 in the Unchained and 1 in the Reckless Spin just to mitigate all mana cost. After that we need 2 in the Void Spiral right here, taking Echo Knight together with Apocalypse Swirl and Move the Deep. I'm also going to the left, taking Iron Reach, Virulent Steel and Battlemaster Blade. Dark Nexus is also pretty much recommended, because with Dark Nexus we can just get our mana back in an easier manner. The most important and unique part here would be Juggernaut stance. I'm using the block chance to boost survivability of the build, and I think 20% block chance from just 5 points is working awesomely well. If you're running lower corruption, you can get Quicksilver Wind instead, but for higher one, I definitely recommend Juggernaut. So moving forward for Sigils of Hope, I'm taking Sigils of Despair, and Last Wish, which is pretty important because that way we'll be able to get our sigils while we're killing enemies. I'm going to the right, taking Meditation and Block Chance as well, because it can provide about 12% of block chance. I'm also taking Tetragram to get one additional sigil. You can cast them yourself, especially at bosses, but when you're kinda running through Echos, it will be much easier because Sigils of Hope will be there just from the Last Wish itself. For Volatile Reversal, I'm taking Warp Time for global attack speed, and together with Incipient Void, Food for the Worms, and Harbinger of Dust, we can use Volatile Reversal just to boost the damage. Come close to the enemy, use Volatile Reversal, and your damage will be boosted, both your and your Echos. Just use it like that. You can also use it to get your health back if you feel like it, so use it as a panic button in some cases as well. For Anomaly, I'm mostly going for Temple or Prison because I think it boosts survivability significantly. Borrowed Time is pretty much important because we need to get Anomaly as an instant cast. That way we can cast it while we are using the Warpath. After that, I'm going to the Time Bible, to the right, taking Fall into Temporal Mastery, Lingering Memory to get more bonuses, Time Lord, so Time Bubble will be cast on you, and Manipulation, because with Manipulation we are getting more attack speed, and Warpath pretty much stacks with attack speed. On top, I'm taking Temporal Prison, because Temporal Prison helps a lot with survivability at higher levels. You can just stun the pack of the enemies, and it will help you to survive better. I'm usually using Anomaly to just get rid of the enemies that I don't like, or to boost the damage because it can provide nice bonuses with Time Bubble. And the last skill is pretty much Rebuke, and it's mostly panic button number 2. We're using it to tank huge hits such as the hit from the dragon, so you generally just need to take everything to survive better here. It's both Augmented Platinic, Brave Elements, Protective Legacy, Burst of Speed, and Solemn Vow. This is mostly it, and you don't need anything else on top of that. Just use it when you want to tank huge telegraphed attack from boss or any kind of strong enemy. Talking about the passives, my approach is pretty basic, but I stacked a few nice things on top. First, we're taking Juggernaut for Restore and Resistances bonus. Then I'm taking Fearless for Vitality because it's nice. I'm taking 1 point in the Stalwart for the block chance because it's pretty important. I'm also using 1 point in the Ages of Renewal because we're blocking a lot, and well, getting a little health back could be pretty nice for just 1 point. Armor Clad is pretty important because it will give you damage taken from nearby enemies minus 10%, and it will raise your tankiness. On top of that, 2 points for Valiant Charge are pretty much required to reach Blade Master right here. And Blade Master provides a lot of attack speed for us, and attack speed boosts the Warpath and our weakness significantly. After that, we are going for the Forge Guard and taking 1 point for Steel Edges, just for the block chance itself. In Paladin, we are taking 1 point into Honor for block chance as well, 4 into Defiance for elemental resistance, and on top of that just Valor for basic health, because it stacks nice for our survivability kit. In the Void Knight, I'm taking 2 points into Temporal Corruption, we don't need more than that. After that, Void Blades are pretty nice passives that gives you both damage and movement speed to the Dark Stride. I'm also taking 8 into Abyssal Endurance for resistances at health. Void Corruption is pretty important to get our critical strike multiplier higher. I really enjoy World Eater because that way we can stack our Leech even higher. 5 points into Finality will provide a melee kill threshold just from your Warpath and Echos. That way you can finish off enemies, especially bosses, with ease, and in my opinion it's worth 5 points. You also will need to take Echo Strikes, Time Legion, and Avatar of Regret for higher Echo chances. I'm using 1 point in the Essence of the End, because, well, 1 point is enough to get 3 essences in almost all times in the arena or higher Echos when you are fighting a lot of enemies. 1 point into Void Flux can pretty much help you to time shift nearby enemies to stun the bosses if they did a huge hit to you, or just to get rid of the enemies, so it's pretty much recommended. And 10 points into Eternal Form are pretty amazing as well. They provide a lot of vitality together with increased health percentage, which is so good. Just take it as fast as possible. So talking about the items, I start with Apathy Maw. It's a pretty nice axe. Perfectly, you need 1 LP1 just to get melee critical strike chance in. Try to get tier 7 one, and it will help you a lot with critical strike chance for build to work properly. After that, I can recommend to use double Siphon of Anguish, because I think right now that ring is pretty much perfect for the build. It provides elemental resistances, it provides movement speed, and a lot of leech. You need to stack at least 1 LP1 for increased critical strike chance, but if you will have 3 LP1 it will be even better. It's also important for higher pushes because health here can help you survive. I'm using second one in the same fashion, so health and increased critical strike chance. As a relic, I can recommend Anchor of the Oblivion. It can pretty much give you enough endurance to reach the cap. It also will help you with endurance threshold and void damage, providing a lot of STR as well. On top of that, you really need to get 46 to all resistances while channeling right here. It's pretty important to get enough resistances while you are channeling, and that way you can survive much better. As a boost, I'm recommending Dark Stride. You can get 0 LP1, it's not really that important, but if you can get some health in, it will be pretty nice. Overall, we just needed to get a lot of movement speed per added melee void damage. As the gloves, I'm using the rare, and here it's pretty important to get armor mitigation also applies to damage over time. I usually recommend to get both of them, like 20 on top and as much as you can get as a second stat down there. I also got block chance here. It's not really that cool, but well, you can get it there too, because block chance is pretty nice for the build, especially with block effectiveness. But if you can get more health, for example, it will work just fine as well. On top of that, critical strike chance and melee attack speed both are recommended stats. As a belt, you really need to get 100% chance to cleanse all ailments on potion use. That way you can cleanse the ignite, you can cleanse poison, armor shred, and all debuffs from yourself, so it's pretty important. On top of that, just get health, percentage health and health by itself, and it should work just fine. As amulet, I recommend less damage over time taken one, and you just need to get 100% increased critical strike chance. It's probably tier 7, so try to get that. You can also get frailty here, health and critical strike multiplier, but it's all not that important, just critical strike chance for higher performance. And as the helmet, I'm using Sentinel Terror, Crown of Ox. That one can provide you 100% increased eco damage when skill is eco, which is pretty important to boost our eco damage much higher than our own damage with the Warpath. I also get increased eco damage when a skill ecos as a stat itself, providing 224% increased eco damage when skill ecos chance. And on top of that, increased health and critical strike avoidance could help you a lot. Also vitality could be nice too. As a body armor, I'm using Titan Heart, because Titan Heart can give you a lot of nice bonuses. 15% less damage taken while wielding 200 melee weapon is just amazing, and it's a lot of DR out of nothing. It can also give you 40% increased health and 40% increased melee damage. On top of that, you will need to get 3 levels to Warpath here at least. So 3 or 4 get the best option, and it will help you a lot to stack your Warpath properly. Talking about the idols, it's pretty unusual. So first off, I have 3-point idol with increased melee void damage and Warpath area. I'm using the second one right here for 34 chance to shred armor on hit and Warpath area gain. Area is not that important, so well, try to get it if you can, but generally just focus on chance to shred armor on hit. I'm using 2 big ones for 146% increased eco damage when a skill ecos. It boosts our ecos even further and helps them to do significantly more damage. Also, armor percentage is pretty nice. So the second one is the same, just eco damage when a skill ecos and armor percentage too. I'm using middle ones for increased health, elemental resistance, and second one just for the health, because it can pretty much rise our overall survivability, rise in endurance threshold and stuff like that. Small ones are pretty much here just to get additional resistances. For example, don't have enough cold, so I'm getting one with armor and cold there. And the second one just provides 2 to all elemental resistance and armor again, and it's really recommended. Talking about blessings, it's much more simple. We need chance to shred void resistance on hit here, which is pretty important. we will need critical strike avoidance, 65 at least, to stacking with our helmet getting 100% critical strike avoidance for the build. Armor while channeling arc is just completely amazing stat. It works so good, so try to get it as fast as possible. And armor percentage is pretty nice as well, because it can provide you with additional armor too. On top of that, I'm using increased stun chance just to make sure I'm stunning even more often. You can get mana here if you want, but generally anything here will work because you don't have a lot of important buffs in that slot. So talking about the stats, you need to aim for 100% critical strike avoidance, which is pretty important. On top of that, melee critical strike chance should be 90% plus and perfectly as close to 100 as possible. Critical strike multiplier works pretty good as well. Higher armor will also help with survivability, and all resistances should be capped when you are spinning with your main Warpath skill. That's the main ideas right now, and stat check that you need to pass to feel better in higher corruption. So that was my endgame Warpath Void Knight build. I really enjoy playing it, I pushed a pretty decent corruption with it, and I think it's capable of even more. Thank you very much for watching, I hope it will work for you as well. Please like and subscribe for more RPG content, and see you next time.